le computer so that I can see you all. Well, you know, not see you, but chat with you. Okay, top chat. No, thank you. We want live chat. Thank you very much. Hello there, Julie. You made it. Hello there, Scrapbooking 100. Just the two of us then. Just the two of us. We can make it. Oh no, I can't sing today. Mind you, I don't think I can sing many days. Hi there, Natalie. Ooh, I'm glad you're looking forward to it. Hi there, Sharon. Okay, so for those of you that will be watching this on replay, you may want to skip this first part of the video as I, yeah, I know it's a good job, Tracy, isn't it? Yeah. You may want to skip this part of the video because I'll be saying hello to everybody, as it is only the polite thing to do. I know, I did them specially for this, and then I've been doing other stuff today, so they're a bit nicky-nacky noodled. And they're all glittery as well. So it's a goldy glitter nail varnish that I've got. But as you can see, look how bad that is. So yeah, it's a good job, Natalie, that Julie's not here. Sorry, that Tracy's not here, because she doesn't like me singing, does she? Mind you, not that I can sing at the moment, because the chest isn't up to much singing. Hi there, Lydia. Good morning. Of course, what time is it with you guys? So, if you are on the East Coast, 5 hours from me was, hang on, 5 from 18 to 30. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm kind of guessing. And if you're on the West Coast, you're about 8 hours behind us. So that makes it kind of midday-ish, is that? No, earlier than that, 10 o'clock in the morning, thereabouts. I want to go through a couple of school notices before I actually start. There you go, see? 10:03, I wasn't far off, was I? I'm taking it Oregon is West Coasty side. Hi there, Cynthia. Nice to see ya. To see ya. Nice. I got everything actually ready this morning. I was going to video this. And then I thought, oh, do you know what? I can see what's going to happen here. I can see that everyone's going to ask me loads of questions. So I thought, do you know what? At least if I do it this way, you can ask me questions as I'm going along. So that's why I decided to do it as a live. Okay, I'm going to make a small start because, as I say, I've got a few school notices that I need to go through. Hello there, Stumpy Shine. Such a great name, that, Stumpy Shine. Yes, we are borders on the I was going to say specific Pacific Ocean, not the Pacific Ocean. Okay, when you do live chat, hi there, Gretchen. Normally, where you type, there used to be like a $sign and stuff, so that if you wanted to make any donations to the good cause, then you were able to make a donation. I've decided to stop that for one specific reason. For the good folks that have donated money to me to be able to help me to continue doing these videos, the last lot of monies that was donated, I was able to see it a lot better, and and YouTube take round about 45% of the donations. So there was, I think there was round about £35 donated, and £18 of it came to me, and YouTube took the rest. And I thought that that was just a tad mean on their part, for you guys to think that I'm getting that money when I wasn't. So if you would like to donate to the cause, in the description box between underneath all the other videos that I've done previously, I have now got a donate by buying me a cup of tea, by buying me a brew. So the company that sets that up takes a very small percentage, and the money goes to my PayPal account, which takes a very small percentage. It's nowhere near the 40+%. So it means that your money is more directly coming to me. So, you know, the big company isn't getting the majority of it. So thank you to all those that have donated in the past. It really is very much appreciated. And I will be doing a video, hopefully very soon, on some of the items that I have actually purchased with that money. One of which I know that Doe in particular will be very happy about. So if you listen, I'm swivelling in my chair. It's not creaking. No, you didn't buy me any WD-40. I purchased a new chair. So I've got a new office chair that doesn't creak. Yay! Hi there, Molly. Hi, Cynthia. Thank you. Yes, I thought it was a good idea because I didn't want you guys being ripped off. Hi there, Mary. Hi there, Gretchen. Did I say hi to you, Helen? I don't think I did. Hi there, Helen. Hi there, Maureen. Gooey. So yes, so because of that reason, I decided to stop doing the donations via YouTube and live chat. So as I say, on my other videos, I have put the link in the description box to be able to buy me a cup of tea. So for those that have donated on that as well so far, thank you so much. And as I say, I will be doing a video hopefully soon to be able to show you some of the things that I've been purchasing with that money that has been donated to locals. So thank you very much. Hi there, Carrie. Okay, my second announcement is that you might have noticed more on the Facebook group than anything else that I haven't been about very much. Hi there, Elaine from Texas. Hi there, Carrie. Is that another Helen? Yes, it is. Hi, Helen. So yes, I haven't been about as much for one specific reason. If you can imagine, I've been doing this for years, 30+ years. And before I was doing paper crafts, I was an embroidery designer. So I have 2 bedrooms, a living room stroke kitchen and a bathroom in my flat. And if I tell you that the living room stroke kitchen, so my living room stroke kitchen is my craft room, my studio, if I'm being posh. The main bedroom in the house is my bedroom, but it's also got my sofa in there and more craft stuff. And the second bedroom, which is the spare room, is also full of craft stuff, as well as this room being full of craft stuff. So in other words, I've got a lot of craft stuff. I got to find out in the middle of March about something that I've been thinking about for quite a while now, for maybe a year or two, maybe two. COVID kind of put a stop to it, but I'm looking to move house, and a house became available, which is much nearer to my daughter, which is going to help me out a lot with my health issues that I've got. And so there was the possibility that I was going to have to move either the end of March or beginning of April. So I went into like major panic and was like, I've got to sort all this craft stuff out. It now looks as though I'm going to be moving house at the end of May. But in the meantime, I have all this stuff to sort through and sort out. So I have been sorting my stuff out so that it's more compact, it's all gathered, so that it's all ready to just be boxed up to make it easier to move. Yes, Natalie can vouch for the amount of stuff that I have because she's been to my home. So I haven't been about as much because in between doing work, I've been sorting stuff out and packing. I'm about 2/3 of the way through it all. And because of my breathing condition, I can't do too much physical stuff because I then start struggling to breathe. So I have to do a bit and then rest a bit and then do a bit and then rest a bit. It's the only way that I can get through it. But you know what it's like when you're in the middle of sorting stuff. I need to get that done so that I can get into bed because I've been sorting stuff out on my bed. So yeah, it's been quite full on over the past few weeks trying to get everything sorted and what have you. And when you live on your own, of course, it's even harder because you've got no one to call on to sort of help. And of course during COVID, with us being locked down and stuff, that's another reason why it's been so difficult, because I haven't been able to call on any friends or anything to be able to come over and come and help me. So that's why I've not been about as much on the Facebook group, and there's been a couple of days during this month where I've missed a couple of Rock Your Journal videos, so that's why you've had 3 sets of prompts instead of 2, because I've been in the middle of packing and sorting and stuff, because we just didn't know when the moving date was going to be. We didn't know whether it would be at the end of March or at the end of April or at the end of May. We just weren't sure, so I kind of had to get prepared for all of that. The possibility of moving on any of those dates, but we're a bit more sorted now with that, so that helps me out a lot. And in between all of that, so we started the Rocky Journal, and then I did the first pop-up shop that we've done for sort of 6-7 months, so it's been all go. Anyway, on the back of that, I have sorted a load of stuff out that I no longer want or need. And I'm kind of thinking that next weekend on the group, it's meant to be the pop-up shop. So I've sorted out loads of journals that I've got finished. So I want to do another auction on the Facebook group for some of the journals that I've got ready. I also thought about putting up some of the stuff that I no longer want or need, and putting that in the shop to be sold, and doing some special what's the word? Some special potluck. That was the word I was looking for. Some special potluck packs of bits and pieces that I've got. So let me just have a quick read of chat. So Dawn Designs has just gone by. I missed that. I think she said hello. So hello there, Dawn. Carla, hi there, Carol. Hello everyone. Sorry I can't stay. I've tried to come later. If not, I'll see the replay. Okay, Carla, thank you. Marie, congrats on the new house. Thank you. Is that Ween Apple Pie? Hello there. Julie, so much for you to look forward to, even though it's hard work. Yeah, it's knackering, but it means that I'll be a lot closer to 4 of my grandchildren, further away from 2 of them, but much nearer to 4, and they will be able to come and stay over a lot more easily than they are able to now, which is really lovely. Stumpy's put, no problem, take all the time you need and do not overexert yourself, and congrats on the new home. Thank you. I haven't got it just quite yet. I'm at about 75-80% there, but that's kind of why I've not been about. So I've just got a few things left to sort. Cynthia, but you'll be so happy being near your daughter and a new space to work in. So yes, I'm looking forward actually to doing a This Is My Craft Room video. And of course, I'll do a video of this place as well, because it'll be the tidiest it will ever be, so that you can see what I have been working with or how I've been working. And then in the new place, obviously, you'll then be able to see how I'm going to be setting it up there. Hi there, Lorena Ashcroft, thank you. Love a potluck pack. Well, these are going to be quite specialist potluck packs, so if I manage to get them done during the week, I will do a video on the Facebook group. Again, there's been a few people who have been wanting to join and not answering the questions, so you've not been added. Moving can be a nightmare. Good luck. Try not to overdo it. I have to say there have been a few times done where I'm absolutely shattered, and I've been in bed by 8 o'clock in an evening and just lying there going, I ache all over. Yeah, but the potluck pack, everything's going to be sort of slightly different in them. To me, a grab bag has got sort of all sort of samey stuff. But yeah, I know that you call them grab bags as well. Thank you for that, Teresa. So yeah, so there's all sorts going on at the moment. I'm doing my best to keep up with as much as I possibly can. But that's why I've not done some of the pages either, because I've been busy packing and sorting. Okay, let's get on to this embroider a book page. Now, as I say, for a long time I have been an embroidery designer, and this is embroidery. Okay, it's not slow stitching, but I'm not going to go there today either. So we're going to do some embroidery on a book page. So let's make a start. I've prattled on enough already. So basically I have chosen a dictionary page that I have coffee dyed. Now, one of the things you need to be careful of when you're using paper is that you don't want it to be too old a paper, because it can be brittle, and then that becomes quite difficult to work with. It's not impossible, but it can be quite difficult to work with. The other thing that you will need is a piece of backing fabric, because this will be attached to this, which then makes this more pliable. All right, now the way in which we're going to attach it is not with glue, it's with this stuff. I hope you can see it if I wiggle my fingers about a bit. Okay, now then, it has many different names on different sides of the ocean. Here in the UK, we call this either Bonderweb or Vilesofix, spelled Vilesofix, and that's what they sell in Hobbycraft. Now, normally this comes with a paper backing, but this one, which I got off Amazon, hasn't got a paper backing. And in fact, this is what it looks like. So I ordered a yard of it, and it's come on a roll. Now, even if you get the one that's with the paper backing on, try and find something like a kitchen roll or some kind of tube to wrap it round. It needs to be wrapped around a tube rather than folded, because if you fold it, you will actually detach where the creases are. You will actually detach this glue thing from the paper. All right, now as I say, mine hasn't got any paper on it. All right. Now, the nice thing about the paper is that you can draw on the paper so that it's easier to work out the size that you're going to need. So, I have cut a piece of this to the size of my book page. I've cut it fractionally smaller. So, I don't know whether you will be able to see this okay. If I bring it up really close, I've left a tiny space at the top up here, and on here, and on here, and at the bottom. So it's got round about 1/8 of an inch spacing between, I'm going to call it Bonder web just because it's easier. I've got, say, 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. We don't want it to be any bigger, because I don't know whether, again, you will see this, but it's kind of glistening on both sides. It looks almost kind of glittery. That's the glue, and it's on both sides of this sheet. All right. If we have it any bigger than the piece of paper, it means that when we put the iron onto it, then it's going to attach itself to the iron, and you don't want to muck up your iron. So I am going to attach my piece of paper onto the fabric with this underneath it. Okay, so it'll be 3 layers. So it will be the paper, it will be the Bonder web, and it will be the fabric. Now I've got a fabric that has got a printed pattern on it. On the back side, you can't see it, it's the weave of the fabric, and I'm putting it on this side so that the border that I've left around it will be visible. If I attached it on this side, then you obviously wouldn't see the border that was available. Okay, so it'll be that, then that, and then that. Okay, so that's with this one that I've got. If you were using the one that's got the paper backing on it, so you would then attach this to the back side of your piece of paper, and then you peel off that paper backing to be able to reveal the other side of the glue, and then you would flip that over and attach that onto there with your iron. Okay, and you need to do it with a dry iron, no steam, so make sure there's no water in your iron when you come to use it. Okay, everybody with me so far? Have a slurp of my tea that's now gone cold. Okay, going to carry on. Now, I need to transfer a pattern onto here before I attach all of these together. And there are several ways of doing that. One is to run this through a printer and to actually print an image on the front of the paper. The second way of doing it is to use a light box, so that if you've got, say, a colouring page, you could put the colouring page underneath it, sit that on top, and then you would be able to trace off the pattern. Now, before anyone thinks, well, I haven't got a light box, we've all got light boxes. They have a natural light source. It's called a window. So basically, I would attach the colouring paper to the window with a little bit of washi tape, and then I would use some washi tape to sit this on top, and then the light shining through the window enables you to see the pattern that you're going to put on this piece of paper. Another way of doing it is to use an iron-on transfer. So you could use an iron-on transfer. So you would iron that pattern onto the piece of paper, remembering that what you see there is going to be in reverse because you will put that face down. One of the things you need to remember if you're using an iron-on transfer is that it's a permanent ink. It's always going to be there. So it means that if you don't stitch over the top of all of those lines, then all you're going to see is the printed outline of the pattern. Okay. Now, when I talked about copying this through, copying an image through a light box or a window, try not to use a pencil. Excuse me. One of the problems with using a pencil and then doing embroidery on top is the lead, as you draw on it, deposits almost like a fine powdery dust to it as well. And if you use, say, a very light coloured embroidery thread, say like a white or a cream, it will start to pick up the residue of the lead pencil. Now I'm not going to go into it now because it's a totally different ball game. There are specialist pens that you can buy that are used on fabric to be able to transfer designs. You can look into any of those if you so wish. If all you can do is use a pencil, if that's all that you have, then use it. But I'm kind of suggesting if you're going to use a light thread, try not to, because the thread will pick up that residue. All right, so if all you have left is a pencil, then use the pencil, but try and use maybe a darker thread. Okay. The other thing that I forgot what I was going to say. The other thing that you need to remember is, oh, I don't know, let me have a slurp of tea because my voice is starting to go a bit. I know what I was going to say. The other thing that you need to think about as well is the design that you're going to put on here. You want something that is easy to stitch. If you choose, excuse me, if you choose, let's just say, where's she go? There. Let's just say you choose an image like this. As you can see, it's got some real intricate pieces in there. Now, this is not like doing embroidery on a piece of fabric where you can actually do all sorts of different embroidery stitches within that complicated area. All right, we want to keep the design simple and clean, so it needs to be just a basic outline. So can you see, say, this teddy bear up here? That's a nice, clean and simple shape. Again, you don't want it too small because then you're going to have to do tiny stitches to be able to get the curvature of the outline correct, because that will depend on the stitching that the stitches that you're using to be able to create a curve. Okay, we are stitching on paper, so it is going to be slightly different to how you would normally stitch on fabric. Okay, it's a totally different medium. Now, the medium that I'm going to use, and in fact, let me just get switch the iron on and get my mat. I won't be a second. See if it's dried out. Right, I'll have to use my other one. Just bear with me a minute. I didn't want to switch my iron on before. Okay, let me get my other mat. There we go. So what I've decided that I'm going to do on mine with my mucky mat is I have got this stencil, and it's by Dutch Doobadoo. Doobie-doobie-doobie-doo. and it's called, oh, hang on, oh, I can't see, that's too close, A5 Flower Swirl. Yeah, that's what it says. Okay, and it's by Dutch Doobadoo. Because this has got some nice simple shapes on it, and it kind of fits on my page as well, so I am going to use my Tim Holtz ink, and as I say, I am just going to keep this very, very simple, very basic, and I'm going to just ink all over the stencil. Now I'm sorry if the camera wobbles as I'm doing this. If I bring that ink nearer to you, Carol, that would make more sense. Okay. Oh, move me on too quick. So as I say, this has got some really nice simple shapes that I can do some stitching on. So what you can do is you could have a look at the pattern before you actually decide what you're going to use, and think about, if you're into embroidery, you'll know different types of stitches. So have a look and see if you can think about what types of stitches you can utilize. Now there's no reason why you can't use a printed paper with an image on it, right? It doesn't have to be a text page like I'm using here. So you could then stitch around the outline of the pattern that is on the book page. So there's lots and lots of different options of how you can transfer a design onto some paper, or different types of papers that you could use. So you could even use a colouring page. Ooh, got a big blob of ink there. You could even use a colouring page as your paper that you want to embroider on. And in fact, I'm hoping to do some more embroidery type videos. And I actually did a really nice class where we printed off some colour images onto fabric and then did some stitching on the top, which was really good fun. So I'm hoping to do some videos on different types of embroidery stitches and how you can utilise them. As I say, this is not slow stitching, and I'm not going to get into that right now, but this is not it. And in fact, there's a lot of videos out there that say that they're doing slow stitching, and they're not. They're doing embroidery. And so, as an embroidery designer, it rankles. But anyway, there you go. Okay. So now you can see I've got an all over pattern on my piece of paper. And I can now iron this with my Bonder web onto my fabric. Now, I have got an old cot mat that I use as my portable ironing board. So if I take this cover off, so you can see, look, I've got a piece of wood, I've got a cot mattress foam, and then this was the cot mattress cover. So I just attached it to a piece of wood. So now I can attach all this together and I can iron this. Okay, so as I say, I've got a dry hot iron. It's not on a linen setting, it's on a cotton setting. And I ripped my fabric so that it is bigger than the piece of paper. Now, if I put the Bonder web directly on top of that, now I've ironed it, this is hot, which will activate the glue. So I'm just going to wait for this to cool just a little before I go about putting this in place. So if I now sit that on top of there, make sure that my border is fairly even all the way around. And then, as I say, I've cut this smaller, just fractionally smaller than my book page. And then I can sit my book page on top of there, making sure that none of that Bondi web is overhanging any side of the paper, okay? Because, as I say, otherwise it will glue to the iron. And I'm just going to press the iron over the top, and this will now fuse those two pieces together. And then I'll flip it over and press it on the back as well, to make sure that I've got a really good contact with the two. So this now makes this paper far more pliable to work with. Okay, so that's what we end up with. I'm just going to unplug my iron. All right. Now, as I say, I have been an embroidery designer for a lot of years, and I have taught embroidery for a lot of years. One of the things that you need to make sure of is that you've got the correct needle. Because it's like any tool that you've got in your arsenal, each tool has a specific reason for existing, okay? And it's more so with embroidery and embroidery needles. Now, the one that I'm using here is a cruel needle, not as in it's horrible and harsh, but it's spelled cruel, C-R-E-W-E-L, okay? So, what can I put it on so that you can see? Piece of paper. There we go. So, a cruel embroidery needle it's got a very fine point at the end, and it's got quite a long eye. Now, the shaft of the needle is about the same until it gets down towards the point, and you need the point to be able to pierce the fabric, okay? Or in our case, fabric and paper. The other thing that you will use is embroidery thread, or again, abroad, you call it floss. Hello there, Flossie. How are you doing, love? It's a very old-fashioned English name. And when you pull out your embroidery thread, if it will come, most people tend to do that and have 10 ton of thread. Now, anyone who's ever been to any of my embroidery classes will know that I slap hands for doing that. It's too long. If you use your thread and it's too long, then what it means is as you work with it, it will start to kink back on itself, because as we embroider with doing the up and down movement with the needle, unbeknownst to you, every so often you fractionally turn the needle as you're working, which means that you're twisting the thread, which means the tighter you twist it, the more it'll kink, and then it will not, and then there'll be a lot of swearing at the other end, okay? So you're better off actually working with slightly shorter lengths of thread. So I tend to go and grab it in my fingers, and I take it to round about the length of my elbow. It's just over a ruler length, so it's just over 12 inches stroke 30 centimetres, okay? I'm not going to use this thread, by the way. I'm just sort of giving you a bit of a demo. Now, I'm going to just push the camera down a bit so that I'm a little bit closer, because you need to be able to see this more clearly. I can see clearly now, the rain has gone. Okay. When we look at the thread and we split it, an ordinary DMC or Anchor or Madeira embroidery thread is normally made up of 6 strands of thread, Now the other thing that I see people do, which again in my embroidery classes I slap the wrists, I don't, I just say I'm going to, is they split the threads by doing that. Okay, so they grab the threads and they just pull them. What happens is this thread is naturally wound for itself. And if you just grab your threads and pull them apart, that wrapping, that natural wind, tightens at the point where the threads are separated. So here, and again, you can end up with a knot. The easiest way to do it is to split the strands at the top, pinch it between your finger and thumb, grab hold of a single strand and pull it away, and it comes away from that length of thread really easily. And you do that with each of the strands of thread that you want to use for your embroidery purposes. Now in this instance, I'm going to use either 2 or 3 strands of thread. We don't use all 6, okay? Now I'm just going to put this thread to one side because I'm not actually using this thread. So you can get single colour embroidery thread, or you can get hand-dyed thread. And I have a big reel here of a silk Caron Collection thread, and I was really fortunate in my embroidery days that I came over to America and I went to Connecticut and I went and met Lois Caron and went round her factory, and these were some of the threads that she'd got that she allowed me to sort of bring home for me. She allowed me to bring home. God, I can't even speak now. So I have a load of those. Another company that I've used a lot of is Dinky Dyes Embroidery Threads, and they are also silk threads, and those silk threads are 6-stranded. This particular one, called Watercolours thread, is a 12-stranded silk thread. So this is why I said I'm going to use 2 or 3 strands of embroidery thread. So again, I would split those at the top, just unravel them a little bit, cut my length of thread, and I'm going to pick and choose which parts of the colour that I want to use. So the nice thing about using the hand-dyed thread is because it changes colour, it means my overall effect is going to be really different. So if I split that, and I'm going to grab hold of a single strand and pull it out, and then I'm going to get another one. Now I need to make sure that my colours match up because one end is orange, the other end is brown. So we need to make sure that we put orange with orange, which is like that, and brown with brown, which is to the end. I'm going to use 3 strands. So let's get the third one out. Okay. Realign those colours back together. All nice and even. Okay. I'm going to do a bit of wetting. So I'm just going to wet the ends of my threads. Okay. Everybody with me so far? Yeah, Stumpy, you would have if you broke me rules. Oh dear. Just having a look at chat a minute whilst I'm having a sup of my tea. Yep, we dangle our thread anyway, no matter how long the thread is. I'm so glad I didn't give away all my threads now. Good for you, Sarah. Hey there, Carol. Hey there, everyone. My first time catching a Carol Tinson live. Woohoo! That thread is gorgeous. It is a bit beautiful, isn't it? I know you're supposed to separate and rejoin, but I've always loved the look of unpulled threads. No. Don't do it. Stump Shine. Oh my, I would have got the oh, I've read that one already. Julie's a yep. I've never seen hand-dyed threads before, only DMC. Oh, you need to go a-searching. There's loads of different embroidery threads. As I say, the two that I use most are Caron Collection threads and Dinky Dyes threads and Silks4u threads. That's an Australian company. And in fact, it was Silks4u that I went to America with, not last year, but year before, when we went on the cruise, and I was the teacher of the class on the cruise. Long time now. Oh, you're saying hello to somebody. Hand-dyed threads are absolutely beautiful. They are, and the effects that they can create are amazing. Okay, let me slurp a tea. That's what I was doing. Okay, so if we have a look at the design here, there's all sorts of different things that we can do. Okay, if we have a look at this flower at the top up here, I could put some stitches in there, just some long straight stitches. The actual vine shape, the curly bits, I could do some back stitching in there. In the centre of the flowers, I could do some French knots. So I'm going to cover those 3 stitches with you. Okay. Now, normally you're told not to start with a knot if you're doing embroidery because it creates bumps on the back, which is quite right. And there are many different techniques that you can use for anchoring your thread to be able to do embroidery. In this instance, because it's on paper, we certainly don't want that bulk. All right, so I'm not going to start with a knot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the thread through from the back through to the front, and I'm just going to anchor it down somewhere. There we go. I'm just going to anchor it down on the back with some of my micropore tape. Washi tape might not be quite strong enough. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do some long straight stitches in these petals of these flowers. Now again, the difficulty is because we're stitching on paper, it's harder to position where your needle needs to come up, because the last thing you want to do is to be poking loads of holes into the paper. Oh, excuse me, Burpingtons. So I know that I want to do some straight stitches, so I know that I want to come up in the petal. All right there, petal, and then pull that thread through, and then I'm just going to put a bit of tape on the back. Now, if needs be, I will add a knot, but I'll try and make sure that it's just a small one. The other thing that you could do is leave a much longer tail, and then you can thread this part into your needle once you've finished stitching, and then weave it into the back of the stitches afterwards. So I'm just going to push that off to the side and just hold that down with some micropore tape so that it's held in place. And I'm just going to do some long straight stitches down the petals. And I'm going to do various lengths. Now, the other thing that I do as well is I use my thumbnail as a bit of a guide as to where that needle's going to come through, because I don't want to, as I say, poke loads of holes in the paper. And then there. Okay, so as you can see, look, I've got 2 straight stitches on top of my petal. And then do a couple there. This is where I go quiet now and have my tongue hanging out my mouth whilst I'm consecrating. Now, it might be worth doing a little practice piece before you go on to any main pieces, just so as you can get a feel of the effect of stitching on paper, because there's going to be nothing worse than creating a piece that then looks totally rubbish because you haven't got the feel of how it works. And at least this way you kind of get the feel of where the needle's going to be coming up, because that's the hardest part, is trying to work out where the needle needs to come up. And I'm just poking just the very tip of the needle through the paper so that I can get an idea of where it's going to come up, but I'm not leaving then a permanent hole, so that I'm just poking it through just slightly to make sure that I've got it in the right position. And if I leave a tiny little hole, it doesn't matter so much, but if I'm leaving a really big hole, then that will actually show on the paper. So I'm just going to carry on doing these straight stitches until I've used this thread up. And then I'm going to show you how to do French knots. So everyone always goes, oh God, I can't do a French knot. And they're really easy. Much easier than people realise. So let's see, a long one there. And a shorter one there. I'm not watching chat just at the moment, so I don't know what you're all chatting about. Okay, I've got one more petal to do. Look, and I've run out of thread. And then I'm just going to weave the needle up and down and over and under these stitches that are already existing. And then again, I can either hold that down with some tape or just ensure that my weaving is enough to hold that thread in place. Okay, and I'll give you a slight close-up. So those are just long straight stitches. Let me just have a quick read. Hello there, Anne. I have mastered a French knot. I'm eager to see if you do 2 wraps or 3. It depends on the knot I want to create. Okay, so if I'd done another stitch on there, that flower would have been finished, but it's not. I run out of thread. Okay, so for this I'm going to use 3 strands of thread again. So that's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And I'm going to move the camera in even closer to be able to show you French knots. So yeah, if you're interested in having a look at hand-dyed threads, have a look at Silks4u, and it's the number 4, SILKS, and then the number 4, U, as in the word U, not the letter U. Or is it the letter U? Oh, I've forgotten. Okay, just going to thread my needle. Okay, so I've got 3 strands of thread. Now I'm just going to move down to this part down here, and as I say, I'm just going to move the camera in a bit so that it's nearer still. See how far down it'll go. That's as near as I can get it. Okay, so again, I'm going to bring my needle through to the front and then tape that tail down on the back. Alright, now a French knot is created by wrapping this thread around your needle. Now the number of times you wrap does not determine how big your French knot is. The number of wraps, the more you do, the more proud it stands from the fabric. If you're wanting tiny little French knots, then you want fewer threads, so you would only use maybe 1 or 2 strands of this silk thread, and you would maybe only do 1 or 2 wrappings of the thread around your needle. I've got 3 strands of thread and I'm going to do 3 wrappings because I want a slightly more pronounced French knot. Okay, so as I say, the more wrappings you do doesn't make it a bigger French knot that way, it makes it a bigger French knot that way. So if you're left-handed, you'll have to do the opposite of what I'm doing. So I've got my needle in my right hand and I'm going to hold the thread that's near the paper off to the side on the left. This part of the thread here is what I'm going to wrap around my needle. So I hope that you can see that because it's brown on brown, I'm afraid. Okay, so it's that part that I'm going to wrap around my needle, and I'm going to wrap it round 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. I hope that you can see that okay. Right, now I'm not pulling that thread in tight to make those wrappings around the needle tight. I'm leaving them fairly loose, a little bit loose, but not too loose that they become baggy. All right, and then I'm going to maneuver both the needle and this hand across back to the point where I first started. Okay, so I'll do that again. I've done my 3 wrappings and I'm going to move the 2 together to be able to put that point either back down where I first came up or adjacent to where I came up. All right, now I can pull those wrappings in to make sure that they're in contact with the paper. Okay, so I'll do it again. Needle in my right hand, thread in my left. This length of thread here is what I'm going to wrap around my needle, and I'm going to do it 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. Maneuver both hands back so that the needle is now inserted. It's not through, it's just sitting in the paper, and then I can pull those wrappings in so that they're nice and neat and in contact with the paper. Again, I don't want to pull them in too tightly because the thickest part of the needle, which is the eye, and it's also got a double amount of thread in the top, has yet to go through that ring that you've made on the base of your page. So that's why you shouldn't pull them in too tightly. So that will then slip in there, and I will rest my thumb on that thread that's adjacent to the knot. Okay, and then when we pull it through, let's see if I can get in up close on this. It might end up being blurry. So you end up with a ring donut with a stitch coming out the centre and over the top to hold it in place. Okay, so we'll do it again. Pull the needle through where you want the stitch to be, and then lay it down on a flat surface. Pull that thread over to the left hand side. Hold that thread in the air so that you've got sort of roughly 2 to 3 inches of thread here. Wrap this around your needle as many times as required. So in my instance, from my instance, I'm using 3 wraps. And then maneuver both hands back to the point where you first started and just sit your needle into the fabric or paper and pull in those wrappings so that they're tight but not taut, so that you can get this double thickness through the centre of your French knot. And then you end up with a little ring donut with a stitch over the top. Okay, third time. Pull the needle through, lay it down on the flat surface, pull your thread over to the left hand side and hold that working thread 2 to 3 inches away from the paper. Wrap that around your needle the required number of times. 1, 2, 3. Manoeuvre both hands to take it back to the point where it first started. Insert the needle and then pull those wrappings in so that they're taut but not really tight, or tight but not really taut. And then pull those wrappings through so that you end up with your little ring donut with a stitch over the top. Okay, I'm going to do a fourth one, and you can talk me through it or talk yourself through it as I'm doing it. So I'm not going to talk this time. Okay, one more. Pull the needle through, lay it down on a flat surface, pull the thread over to the left hand side, hold it 2 to 3 inches away from the paper or fabric. Wrap the thread round the required number of times. Manoeuvre both hands back to the point where you first started and insert the tip of the needle. Hold it upright and pull those threads down to the paper so that they're in contact. Rest your thumb on that thread and then pull the needle and thread through the wrappings so that you've now got that little stitch holding the ring donut in place. Okay, so that's, and I'm sorry I can't do it much closer for you to be able to see because it's just going to go blurry. Let's see if it will focus, so that you end up with little ring donuts with a stitch over the top. Maybe not the best colour of thread to use, Carol. Okay, so we've got long straight stitches here and we've got French knots here. The next one that I want to do, and I'm just going to cheat, I'm just going to drag my thread right the way across the back, is I want to do some of these vines, some of these curly bits, and all I'm going to use here is back stitching. And back stitching is where you do your first stitch going forward. All right, now before I do any of the stitching, I need to look at the curve of the line that I'm stitching on. So as you can see here, this curve is really quite tight, which means that I'll need to do smaller stitches in this area to be able to get that curve. Otherwise it's just going to look like a jagged line. Whereas here, because it's a smooth, oh God, can't speak, a smooth curve, my stitches can afford to be a little bit bigger. All right, now one of the things that you want to be careful of is that you're not doing different size stitches all the time. It's okay occasionally, just from a visual point of view. So if I do quite long stitches here and then I do teeny tiny ones on there, medium sized ones on there, it's going to look a bit rubbish. So I want to get them near enough the same size so that when I do the slightly smaller ones in this area, it's not quite so obviously standing out that the stitch lengths are massively different. Okay, so I've come through at the point where I want to start, and the first stitch that I'm going to do is a forward stitch. Okay, so this is just a simple up and down, up and down. Now I'm going to come up ahead of it, so I'm going to come up here and then I'm going to go back to that point there. So that's why it's called back stitch. Now the difficulty here is trying to find where your needle's going to come up to be able to keep your stitch length fairly even. Okay, And this is where your nail comes in handy for kind of pinpointing where that stitch needs to come through. So again, I'm just pushing just the tip of the needle through to the front of the fabric so that I can try and position it. And then from that point, I'm going back to the previous stitch. And again, go forward, bring it through, and then go back to that point where you came up before. And go forward again, just pushing the tip through. And then, oop, come on. And then go back to that point. Okay, so the back stitching is actually quite difficult to do when you're doing it on paper, because you have no visual reference to be able to follow, to know that your needle's coming up in the right place. Now when you're doing it on fabric, it doesn't matter, because when you insert the needle, obviously if you've got it in the wrong place, you can just pull the needle away and reposition the needle, and the fibres of the fabric close over that hole. With paper, it leaves a hole in the paper. So backstitch is quite fiddly to do, but it's a great way of being able to do lines, and it's one of the easiest to do. So those are the 3 stitches that I'm going to cover with you today. So some long straight stitches on my petals, some back stitching on the vine, and some French knots in the centre of my flowers. Okay, now then, I am just going to zoom the camera out a bit, and then I'm going to see if you've got any questions that you want to ask me about this particular technique. Okay. Oh, and I'm not hunched over my table so much then. There we go. For the cost of floss, you could embroider pillowcases. You can do all sorts with embroidery. Okay. Lorena, I could never do French knots before. Your instructions are so clear. Thank you very much. You're quite welcome. Beautiful Carol. May have to dig my embroidery back out. Julie, you are making me want to start embroidery again. Yay! I haven't got time. Christina, eBay could help with the cost if that's the problem. Bad storm here. I'll finish watching later. Hope it's not too bad, Cynthia. Yeah, the cost is always it, but try to keep it low. If you just get just a white or a cream embroidery thread, skeins of embroidery thread are not very expensive, and especially if you just go for a cheap version, you can always tea and coffee dye it just the same as we do with seam binding, to give you some colours, or use food colouring to colour it yourself. It's a craft that's almost obsolete. Well, I'll tell you what, Christina, the embroiderers who I'm friends with would actually disagree with you there. Used to make doilies. I love the older types, but I hardly know anyone who does them anymore. Sad loss. So yeah, I've taught all sorts of different forms of embroidery over the years. My main pleasure was from designing and creating counted stitch samplers, because I just love creating just a single row of something that looks pretty but intricate because of all the stitches that you use within it. I used to love doing that. Lovely Carol, perfect instructions. You're very welcome, Anne. I'm back in sewing classes. Good. Hi there, Heavenly Gifted today. Joan, thank you so much, Carol. You are a great teacher. Can't wait to see the finished piece. It might be a little while, Joan. I've got all this packing to do. Sandra, silk ribbon embroidery is obsolete for sure. I think a few people still do it, but maybe not as many. What I'll do is I'll come back another time and I'll show you some more embroidery stitches. So I'll try and do something along similar lines. That's maybe a little bit simpler to see actually than that, because that was not a good colour choice actually to show you on, but at least you got a little bit of an idea. You're very welcome, Helen. Lovely to catch you live, being a subby for a while. Well, that's nice to know, thank you. If you dye it yourself, could you get the same variations as the thread you're using? Depends on the dye batch, that the dye that you use to dye them with. Obviously this is manufactured, so they use specialist dyes. You'll get something similar, and again there's many videos on dyeing threads, embroidery threads, so you could go and watch a few of those. Yeah, definitely embroidery on paper. Can you mention Christina as her daughter Gabby thinks she's a celeb now because you mentioned her before? Oh dear. Hello there, Christina. Hello there, Gabby. Oh dear. Thank you very much, Joan. I haven't finished the video yet. I've got another couple of things that I need to do with you. Different from quilting, as you're going to make me pull out my grandmother's embroidery stuff. Okay, so doing some more embroidery stitches is a must then. A must follow-up video at some point. Obviously it's not going to be for a little while. If you're doing it on paper, baby wool might be too thick. She's over the moon. Bless. Okay, so Julie's a yes for more embroidery stitches, but obviously a much better paper than that, Carol. Note to self. Has anybody got any questions that they would like to ask me? And in fact, I might actually redo these stitches again in another video just to make it a little bit clearer. But at least you've got the idea now of attaching the paper to the fabric with the bonder web, and how you can go about creating a pattern on it and then thinking about the embroidery stitches. I would tend to, once I've done the embroidery, I would then go and press it again. As you can see, look, it's starting to lift off just a little, but then I might even do some stitching around the outside. That's coming, Julie. That's already in the works. Julie's just asked, how about an album with a stitched cover? Already done it. If the paper gets creased from handling, does it matter? Or it will a little bit, because it'll weaken it. So any creases in paper will weaken the fibres of the paper. So that's why I said at the beginning, you need to be careful about the paper that you use. Would you put a French knot in the centre of the other knots? Yes, I will be, Joan. So, but you know, the thing is as well is I don't want to have too many stitches in one area because it's paper. I'm creating holes in the paper, which means that the paper will disintegrate if I've put loads and loads of holes in it. But yes, I would probably put another 2 in there, so there needs to be 1 there and 1 in the middle. This was only for demonstration purposes. But yeah, got to be careful about how many holes I put in the paper, even though it's supported by the fabric. Okay, next bit. Oh, let me just reach down for that. Okay. Okay, let me put that to one side. Gave up embroidery and cross stitch due to arthritis in my hands. The bits I did for February journals was my first in years. I'll get this done too. Good for you, Brenda. I've only worked with a hoop, super tight. How do you work the pattern without creasing? Just have a simpler pattern. This is just for the Rocky Journal video journal, so it doesn't have to be anything super complicated. It's only meant as a bit of a highlight decoration. It's not meant to be like an embroidery on fabric. It's just meant to add a little bit of extra texture to it. I'm looking for my pen. There we go. Would you be able to show a piece of embroidery finished? Yeah, just hang on a minute and I shall go get one. So as I say, my main love was counted stitch embroidery. So this is one of my designs. In fact, I've got some of my embroidery designs on in my Etsy store. And I've got bags and bags and bags of, like, I think the last time I counted them, there was about 60, 70 projects that I have got of new designs on the go. And I've not looked at them for years because I've moved on to paper crafting. So yeah, so there you go. So that's one of my embroideries, and this is a metal embellishment in here. See if I can get it up close so that you can, hang on. So you can see there's like a variety of different stitches, and there's tiny petite beads here. Swarovski crystals. I've used metallic threads. So yeah. So there you go. Now you've seen one of my embroideries as well. Okay, let's move on to your next lot of prompts. Where's my notes gone? Hang on. Oh heck. Just bear with me. I've lost my bit of paper with my notes on. There we go. It was hiding. Okay. Now, next lot of prompts means you're going to have to do a little bit of investigative work. 22nd of April, done that. So we want the next 3. 1, 2 and 3. There we go. Let's take them out. So the last one was for, oh heck, I've curled it, for the 22nd of April. So we're now on to the 23rd. No, I don't, Julie, for the simple fact that no one would ever be able to afford them, because the amount of hours that goes into making an embroidery design, as I'm sure you can appreciate and are aware of. I mean, some of them can take hundreds of hours, you know, to sit and stitch. So even if you only paid me £1 an hour, it would still be, you know, 70, 80, 90, £100 and upwards. And I'm not working for £1 an hour. So no, that's why I do the charts and I teach. So, oh look, I've done the 22nd of April. I wanted the 23rd, I forgot to change it. Let's flip it over. I won't tell if you won't. Okay, 23rd. And don't forget, please share with your friends about this video, because some of your friends might be interested to come and have a look. Oh look, I've done it again. It's because I'm talking, not concentrating. 24th, Carol. Not concentrating on what I'm doing. 24th of April. Well, that 4 didn't come out very well, did it? 25th. Might have to redo you. Can't have you looking shabby. And 25th. Oh God, that's another one that's ended up shabby. Oh. Oh my lordy, lordy, lordy. Okay, let's try that. Oh. Well, these are pants, and I'm going to be doing them again. Oh dear. Okay, so 23rd of April. The prompt is sunrise. What comes next? Sunrise, sunset. Sunrise, sunset. Choose one. Create a page on sunrises or sunsets. I love them. Got some great photographs, so I'm going to use some photographs on mine. But think about, like, if you do watercolour paints or acrylic paints, the beautiful colours that you get within sunsets. You know, you can create with paints and inks and papers. And oh, that remind me in a minute about a book. I must get it. Okay, my rubbish 24th of April, which I will redo. This is the 2 that you will need to do some research on. Okay, this one is F-R-O-T-T-A-G-E. Frottage. I'm not swearing. It's a word. Frottage. Basically, it's a bit of brass rubbing or similar. So if you have a look around your home, have a look at all the different textures and think about all the kind of rubbings that you could do with those. So we're going to make a frottage collage. That was a lot of R's. Collage. Okay. So see if you can make a lovely collage up of different types of rubbings. Now you could use a soft pencil. So if you're using a soft pencil, that's a B. If you're using a hard pencil, that's an H. So the softer the pencil, the better the effect that you will get. Or you could use a wax crayon. You could, no, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to give you any hints. Go and have a look. There are videos on this. All sorts of different textures that you could do some rubbings of. And it works better on thinner paper than it does thicker paper. All right? So, frottage. What was that? Darn autocorrect. Okay. 25th of April, another rubbish card. I'm going to have to redo that. And this is another one that you'll need to look up. This is called Collage. C-O-L-L-A-G-R-A-P-H. Collage. Okay, now again, there's some videos on collagraphs. And this is something that you could actually do with the kids that have, well, in fact, that have great fun with that, either of those two. All right, so sunrise, sunset, frottaging. We're doing a frottage collage, and then we're going to do some collage. All right, now I'm not going to be about tomorrow to do a video because I'm due to go and have my second vaccine injection tomorrow. So, and I've got a bit more sorting out to do tomorrow, so I will, depending on how I'm feeling on Monday, I will try and get a video up on Monday. If not, it might be Tuesday before I get a chance to do a video. I'll have to see if I get a reaction to my injection. What was that, Julie? Got to leave. See you, Julie. We'll catch the end on replay. I'm basically done now. I'm just going to say goodbye to everyone. Okay, so over the next week, it might be a bit hit and miss as to me being able to get the prompts out to you, because as I say, it will depend on how I react to this injection tomorrow. I've got my landlord coming to see me on Monday, and I've got to tell him that I'm going to be leaving, and of course I've got to get the house ready for him coming, or my flat ready for him coming, so I need to do a bit of tidying up with that and actually make my bed because I tend to just climb in and out of it. I hope that embroidery on the page has given you a bit of an idea. I will try and come back and do a video, maybe just showing the stitches on some plain paper so it makes it easier to see. And you didn't remind me, did you? My book. Okay, just bear with me because I didn't get it out ready. Alright, there it is. There it is. Okay. So I showed some pages in another video, a couple of videos ago, of these beautiful papers, and I said that I'd ripped the pages out of the book, and the lady, one of the ladies asked me what the book was, but I can't remember which video it was that she asked, and I said if I've still got the cover I will try and find it out. Anyway, I found the cover, I've kept it. So that's the book, Handmade Paper Collage. and it's by Dawn Ackerman, and she has got some beautiful images within this book. There's the ISBN number. Okay, so yeah, this is the book that I've ripped apart, and I've ripped all the pages out. So these are some of the bigger sheets that are in there, which I think are beautiful. Just the colour combinations alone and the textures. Oh look, sunrise, sunset. Well, I've got my picture sorted, I don't know about you lot. So yeah, so that's that book. And of course they could go that way. That could be the land, those could be mountains, that could be the sky. Those could be the mountains. This could be the sunrise or the sunset. So yeah, there was some really lovely papers in there. Look at that one, look, that's a waterfall. How beautiful is that? So anyway, yes, that was the book that the lady was asking me about. Handmade paper collage. Okay, if nobody has got any further questions to ask me with regards to embroidering on paper, as I say, it is embroidery, not slow stitching. Oh, can't do that up. Can't believe I messed those up. I should be relatively okay. I mean, I wasn't too well the first one that I had. It actually left. I had terrible shivers for a couple of days, and something else that's not too pleasant to talk about on screen. But yeah, I hope that where's it gone? I hope that that's given you a little bit of inspiration of some things that you could do with embroidering on paper. As I say, I will try and do my best to come back at some other point and try and do one that's much easier for you to see the stitching, but at least it gives you a bit of an idea. So thank you so much for joining me, and as I say, if you would like to make a donation to the cause, me being the cause, if you would like to buy me a cup of tea, that would be very much appreciated, and I will try my best to do a video to show you what I've actually purchased with the money that I've had donated so far as well. One of them being my new non-squeaky chair. Yay! So I can swing round and round and round now. Okay, thank you very much for joining me, and I shall see you all again as soon as is possible. Okay, thanks. Bye. Love you. Bye. Bye-zy bye.